Peter. It is so wonderful to have this conversation with you. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well, Rhonda. It's a good day. The weather is warming a little bit here, and the sun is shining. That's a good thing.
Well, we happen to be in the same place, so I agree. The sunshine in Portugal is
Yeah,
crucial
yeah.
considering
It's yeah.
we haven't had many sunny days while here.
No, no.
Yeah. So, um, I have really been looking forward to our chat. It's not
Yeah, me
every
too.
day that you get to share stories with someone who understands the joys and challenges of living this nomadic life, especially at our ages.
If this was a remarkable find when I walked in the door, and there you were, and I found out that that we're mirror images of one another in terms of lifestyle, practically.
Completely, completely. And yeah, it's really been an honor to share this co-living space with you and just share stories and go on outings, and it's really been great.
Yeah, I love
Um,
this space and the fact that we are in a community and we get to interact with other people too.
Completely. It has been a really great experience for me, and it has made me realize how important community is to me.
Yeah,
And this is the type of experience that I want as I continue my travels.
yeah, yeah. It's the kind
So
of experience that I get in hostels when I'm there, but it's way more comfortable here to have a
true,
room of my own. But that's
very
just,
much so.
yeah.
Yep. So before we get started, I just want to say a quick hello to our followers tuning
Mhm.
in. And we're here today to share our experiences as solo travelers, embracing the nomadic lifestyle in our later years. And we'll talk about everything from inspiration behind our journeys to how society perceives us, and hopefully inspire some of you to think differently about what's possible at any age. And um, I'm just going to divulge our ages if that's okay,
Please,
Peter.
please.
I'm 60 and I'm having a birthday next week, so almost 61. And Peter is 80.
Yes, and my
And
birthday's in April and I will be 81 then.
yeah, yeah, it's amazing.
Mhm.
So, you know, breaking these stereotypes and showing that age is just a number has become really important to me. And I imagine for you as
Yes,
well, with
yes, it is.
probably reactions that you and I both get traveling. Um, but it's also about exploring the world and discovering ourselves again too in
Mhm.
some aspect. Wouldn't you agree?
Most certainly. Yeah,
Great.
it's a whole new
Yeah.
world now that I'm traveling for
Yeah.
me.
So Peter, let's just kick things off. Um, Tell me, what inspired you to adopt a nomadic lifestyle at this stage in your life?
Well, first of all, what sparked me to start traveling was the death of my wife 13 years ago, and the after 45 years of marriage, and the intense pain that I experienced. And I thought I couldn't imagine a way to survive that pain. So I thought I needed to do something dramatic that would catch my attention and be so significant that it would distract me from that pain.
Mm.
So I decided to start traveling Australia and New Zealand. And then every year since then, until COVID, I was gone 8 weeks a year at least. And I discovered the wonders of traveling. And then just a little over a year ago, I decided it was time to get out of my apartment, shed my belongings, and get out here on my own, traveling pretty much full time, uh, just to experience life and have all the joyous distractions that come from traveling, the
Yeah.
same kind of challenges that any of us have in life. And oh, am I okay? Am I accomplishing? Whatever, all those things, they're still there. But but here I am meeting people like you and seeing
Yeah.
places, the young people that are in the this hostel with us.
Yeah. I agree. For me, my story is a little different. I started traveling at the age of 53. I've wanted to travel my entire life and really just didn't have opportunities to travel when I was younger. And so at the end of my marriage, I was married 22 years, and the seed for me had been planted when I was designing a book cover or a book for a woman who traveled for an entire year and volunteered. And so she wrote a book about mapping your volunteer vacation. And I had no idea that that concept even existed. And that was the point that really planted the seed, which was actually 8 years prior to my relationship ending. And so I had decided it was time for me to start traveling. And like you, I sold everything I owned. I bought a backpack and a one-way ticket. And I first landed in Costa Rica and then hopped on a bus to Nicaragua, where I lived in the jungle for my first month. And it was never intended for me to turn this into a lifestyle. I was really just wanting to explore and discover myself again for maybe just a few months. And what I found is that I absolutely fell in love with this lifestyle. And it was a part of me that I realized needed to become permanent
Mm.
and really just turn it into a lifestyle. So after traveling for a few months, I just decided that life for me was going to be different from that point forward. So like you with with traveling to all these countries, you have traveled to more countries than I have.
Yeah, that's debatable, but sure.
Yeah, but we've been to different regions.
Yes, yes. Yeah, I've
Yeah,
not been to South America, and I'm so fascinated with your experience there.
yeah, it's one of my favorite continents, Colombia being my
Hmm.
my favorite country. So, can you share a memorable moment from your travels that changed your perspective?
Well, I think it needs to be two. One is stepping off the plane in on my first trip in Auckland, New Zealand.
Mm,
It was the first time I had been on a choir tour in Europe decades before. So it was really the first time I was on my own traveling, and I stepped off that plane, and it felt as if I would had just opened an entire world. I had broken out of that little bubble that we live in the U.S., and it was just so thrilling. But the moment that sticks in my mind is not very dramatic. It's sitting on a hillside in Tobermory, Scotland, looking out at the bay, and in front of me was a perfectly shaped rectangle window made by branches on trees. And
mm,
so it was like I was looking at a kind of a moving picture through that. And I saw the bay kind of move into a channel between hills that were almost mountain size and kind of drifting off into the distance in the mist and to the so that I couldn't see them anymore, the mountains, and it
yeah.
was just like a mysterious place. And I sat there for an hour and a half, and I processed my life. That wasn't that long ago. I was in my 70s at the time, mid 70s. And I thought to myself, like, what is coming? What is the future going to be like here? And it just sort of dawned on me as I looked ahead in that scene that there is no end. There's it goes on
Mm,
infinitely.
mm,
And I, in a sense, came to terms with my own mortality. And the fact that I am not going to live forever on the planet is irrelevant, absolutely irrelevant. because life and my existence at the moment is full and complete, and it goes on. There's mystery ahead, and I'm not afraid of it. There's much to be discovered yet. So that was one of the most profound moments I've had in my travel.
Yeah, that's really beautiful. I love that story. For me, I think it was really, there are two for me as well. I was able to check off my number one bucket list destination at Machu Picchu
Oh,
early on in my travels. And it was really a beautiful, magical moment for me to experience the land and the people and the cultures. And it was really life changing for me.
really?
Before that, I would have to say when and when I hopped on a bus to Nicaragua
Mm-hmm.
and landed in the jungle and lived
Oh,
there for a
geez,
month.
yeah.
And I'm coming from Las Vegas, so it was an
Las
extreme,
Vegas to the jungle.
yeah, it was an extreme, it was a different kind of jungle.
Yeah.
So but what I didn't realize was that experience and the way we lived off the land,
Mm,
because we slept in tents, we had outdoor showers, outdoor facilities for everything.
mm,
And, there was gardening and lots of tasks that needed to be done.
mm,
And what I didn't realize until later was that actually set the foundation for life in Central America, and then which then kind of segued into South America.
mm.
And it made me humble and
Mm.
appreciative
Wow.
and respectful of the people and the earth and just life in general.
Mm. Wow.
So it was early on um, when I was really moved
Mm.
by what this life could look like.
Yeah.
And, because it was so early on, so I've been traveling full time for 7 years. I'm actually
Mm.
entering my 8th year now. So this was quite a while ago. And I still remember that feeling. I mean, there have been many epiphanies
Sure.
later,
Mm.
many spiritual moments, if you will, that have transformed me still.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like it's just a continuous journey. Um, but I don't know, it was just really special. So switching gears a little bit, speaking of motivation, like how do you define home as a traveler?
Yeah, that is a very challenging question, um, because it demands redefining the idea of home entirely. Um, I I've thought about where I need to be. What would I need to be so for a place to be home? And I have pared down so much. I don't have a house anymore. Um, I don't have an apartment anymore. I don't have an a single location. I do have an address. I have a legal address in Louisville, Kentucky. But most of my adult life has been spent in the Kansas City area. That feels kind of home-like, but there's not an established place. So I am creating and have been able to, more discovered than created,
Yeah,
the capacity to feel at home in a room, in
yeah,
whatever place I go, I feel as if that's home. I'm living there. I'm not visiting there. I'm not a tourist. I've never been a tourist. I can't tolerate even the thought of that.
right.
But I have lived in a place and I've tried to immerse myself in it. But when I have my laptop and my iPad and my iPhone so I can communicate. I have a bit of a sense of home that's amorphous. It's people in various places on the planet in the US. But I don't need anything other. I have a backpack, that's all, and a little bag that has the electronics. And even
Yep.
that, I lost my backpack for a while. And I realized I can get a new backpack. I can get new clothes. So that wasn't
Yeah.
it. Somehow home lives inside of me in relationship to the place I am.
That's very true. You explained that very well. Now you're traveling as retired,
Yes.
and I'm traveling as a digital nomad. So
Yep.
I'm traveling and working
Mhm.
abroad.
Big
And
difference.
yeah, so there was one defining moment when I remember I was in Costa Rica, or yeah, I was in Costa Rica. And all of a sudden, and again, this was early on in my journey, and like all of a sudden it occurred to me that I didn't know where home was. And it was very emotional for me because I had become, things had become familiar to me with each place that I lived. And sometimes
Mhm.
I would stay longer than in other places because it was familiar. So it's almost like I was trying to find home, but knowing I was going to continue traveling. So what helped me the most was realizing that home is where my heart is. So it doesn't really matter my specific location or destination. It's where I lay my head at night to sleep
Mhm.
is where I call home. And when I change that thinking around a little bit, it has really helped me um, not miss home so much,
Mhm.
because I have an address, and my address changes whenever my family moves, which actually just recently happened last year. So, but like you, I sold everything, including my vehicle. And so when I go back to my daughter's house, um, it it's where my address is,
Mhm.
and I always feel at home. And then when I'm on the move again, every other place I go to feels like home as
Yeah.
well.
I resonate.
And go ahead.
I resonate so much to that. That was one of the things that was so interesting to me about our parallel situations because my address is at my daughter's house in Louisville, Kentucky. And
Yeah,
there's a room there that I can stay in, and I feel very comfortable. I mean, I love those people and their friends and whatever. I feel very comfortable there.
exactly.
But that's not it. And one of the things that in terms of my discovery about this was the year that I walked the Camino de Santiago de Compostela, the pilgrimage across northern Spain, 500 miles,
Hmm.
800 kilometers with a backpack only, staying in
Wow.
hostels and whatever. And it's there that I really realized I did not need anything other than that backpack. And I developed community. I lived a lifetime for 40 days doing that. I did not really miss. Marianne had died, and my kids are all on perfectly successful. And I felt as if that was my place. And the idea that I didn't need anything else to be secure and at home and feel comfortable. Um, and that was the time when it really cemented for me.
Yeah. What a profound feeling that is, too. And the Camino is on my list. And
Yeah.
hopefully, while I'm traveling through Europe this year, that is something I will be able to participate in, because I have wanted to do that for a long time. In fact, I trained for it because I had planned on coming to Portugal and starting my Camino journey there.
Mhm.
And then COVID hit,
Yes.
and all of my plans got wiped out, and it took me a few years to get to Europe again. So it is on my list.
Yeah. Good.
So
Yes. Yeah.
in what ways has age influenced your travel style, or maybe the destinations that you have chosen?
That's it's a good question, and it's thought-provoking for me because the way age fits into my travel is in one respect minimal because I'm relatively healthy and functional. So I can pretty much go anywhere I want to go and do whatever I want to do. One very practical um, way it's impacted is that I am damn well not going to get a top bunk in a hostel anymore. I am going to get a bottom bunk if I'm in a hostel. And that's one
I
of the
hear you.
benefits of being in this digital nomad setting is there's a bed right behind me and it's mine. And there's a
Yep.
bathroom right over there that's mine. But I love hostels so much. But that's one impact. Um, I got a little smaller backpack. I didn't do that intentionally, but I'm grateful for it because I carry that. I don't check baggage. Uh, and so
Right.
those things are so I have to bring medicine along with me. It's a couple of prescriptions is all. They're no big deal. But I have to take that into account. Um,
Yep.
and I fell on the stairs going down to the subway the other day with you, and that's only the second time I can remember falling. And so I have to be
Yeah.
aware that I am 80 years old. And I'm in good health, but I am 80 years old. So I move a little more slowly and think a little more slowly. And my attitude toward that is that
Yeah.
I can fall in the US. I can find, have any kind of imaginable problem there, or I can do it while I'm traveling. And whatever happens will happen no matter where I am.
Yeah.
I don't have to just sit in my apartment at home to be safe and secure from things because it can happen there. So it's more attitude,
Exactly.
I think. Um,
Yep.
and I will say that one of the things I do shamelessly is I introduce myself practically, say I'm Peter and I'm 80 years old. Partly because
Right.
I like um, that's a bit of an anomaly. Not so many people in their 80s are traveling by
Mhm.
themselves with a backpack
Right.
in Europe. So I want that's an entree and gets people's attention so that I'm not just ignored as an old person because I have
Right.
that experience. And
Mhm.
it is horrendously uncomfortable when I sort of people are dismissive and they almost act as if you don't exist and they wouldn't want to ask you anything because you wouldn't really know and you're probably just old and stupid or can't whatever. And maybe I am a little old and stupid, but I'm still out there. And so at any rate, yeah, it does have some impact on how I travel.
I agree with that. And the interesting thing is that uh, upon my arrival in Portugal, I too ended up with a knee injury,
Yeah.
and it wasn't even because I was like doing anything adventurous like I usually do. I was literally at the grocery store and turned wrong as I was reaching for a lemon.
Oh, those lemons will get you every time, Rhonda.
Telling you, and that was the day I arrived. And I am used to, I find my place, I get unpacked, I get settled in, and then the first thing I do is I go to the grocery store and get all my needs, my food, and then I go out and explore whatever city I'm in the country that I've chosen. And hurting my knee because I've been very lucky. I've been very blessed. I have not had any major injuries, no, nothing.
Mhm.
And, and so it was so frustrating for me to have injured myself on the first day and I couldn't walk. And so after 2 days of just trying to, elevate it and ice it and
Mhm.
all the things, it wasn't healing. And so I went to the pharmacy and was very impressed, found a pharmacist here in Portugal who spoke English. He looked at my knee and prescribed me an anti-inflammatory and gave me a knee brace, which I've never owned before. And And so after a couple of days, I was like, oh, I think I'm going to be okay. And I tried to push myself out, and the same thing happened. So I literally was forced to lay in bed for a whole week of my nearly 2 week journey here. Um, so my age has played into that a little bit. And because I started traveling at 53, so my health has been incredible. Like I have this incredible story of how I was
Oh,
taking all
that's,
these
yeah.
medications and I ran out, stopped taking them all. And over the course of 9 months, my body literally healed itself. That's a story for another time and another day. And it was miraculous to me. And to this day, I still don't need any medication. And
And
this
I
is
like
all
your,
documented.
I like that story, and I'm considering, I'm really processing it and thinking about it in terms of what
Yeah.
the future brings.
Yeah, I mean, it's all documented by blood work. I went to a
Yeah.
doctor because I was concerned having not taken medication for so long. And they ran all the tests, did all the blood work, and I no longer needed medication for anything, largely due to my lifestyle change, the fact
Mhm.
that I was now backpacking and walking everywhere. I was
Yeah.
eating healthier.
Mhm.
I was traveling in remote locations in Central America, South America. So I was eating healthy, natural food.
Yeah. Yes.
So, but as far as destination, I I don't know why I have been drawn to Latin America, but that was just one of the first places I wanted to explore. And then from Central America, I went to South America, and my first country was Colombia. Fell in love with Colombia.
Mhm.
And I have since been there many, many times. And that's part of why my number of countries visited aren't as high, is because I kept going back to places that I
Yeah.
really loved.
Yeah.
And, Colombia, Peru, Argentina, I just kept going back.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I finally had to stop doing that so that I could explore the rest of the world. Otherwise, I'm not gonna, and I don't have a goal to travel to every single country.
No, it's not
However,
a contest.
no, it's not at all for me.
Yeah.
And the only goal I have is that I want to explore every continent.
Oh,
And it doesn't
yes.
have to be every country, but I do
Mhm.
want to explore every continent. So, um, speaking of health and wellness, um, how do you approach that on the road? I know that you take medications.
Yeah.
Like, how do you refill your medications, and like what does that look like
Okay.
in terms of wellness?
Yeah, and for me, in terms of medication, I go back to the U.S. twice a year,
Mm,
and the timing has worked out well. This last time, I was able to get the next refill before I finished the first, so I have enough to go for of 6 months of the medication. But in
mhm,
terms, I have Medicare in the U.S., but it is only good in the U.S. I have no insurance in Europe. I do have, I'll be specific about it, a AAA program that's $100 some a year
mhm.
that will extricate you from wherever you are, help you get back to the US or to where you need to be if there's an emergency situation. So what that means is that I simply call a number and I can get someone who will help negotiate things, get maybe somebody who could help me if need be to get me back, whatever, so that I'm then back in the US where the Medicare will work. But
Yeah.
I had twice in my travels, I've had to go to an emergency room. Once was when I was on the Camino and it was some knee pain. That's sort of comical because the doctor in the emergency room said I was afraid I might be hurting my knees, and it was the quads and the muscles above the knees, and
Yeah.
he prescribed not walking. I'm on the Camino. Well, it's that my problem is walking too much. Well, shit.
Mm,
I'm sorry, but
right.
it just that was crazy. So ibuprofen was my friend. So at that point, now just yesterday, I went to the emergency room to. And by the way, that one cost me eventually maybe $60 or something like that to go to the emergency room in on the Camino. And I got that
Okay.
bill later, just a long time later, didn't have to do anything. I just went, well, yesterday I went to get a stitch removed. I had surgery in my hand and had a stitch that had been missed. So I went to ask him, you could see it to remove it. And
Mhm.
by the way, I think they just had a good time kind of chuckling to themselves about this guy who was taking so seriously. I had gotten information about how to get the stitch out and whatever, and they really, they were kind of cute about this. But at any rate, uh, the assistant there popped the thing out, and I didn't even feel what was happening, and just said, "Okay, see you later. Go
Then it
on your
was
way.
then it
No
was
charge, no
done.
nothing." And
That's great.
it just worked out
Yeah,
well.
I have found I've had really positive experiences with doctors and pharmacies out here. Well, out here is in traveling abroad, and I do have nomadic insurance, which covers me outside of the U.S. And so, any emergency that I have, I am covered for that. And as far as wellness goes, like you, I walk pretty much everywhere I go, unless it's at night, which I typically don't tend to be anywhere at night, um, mostly for safety reasons, but also if I get lost, you know, there are less people that I can ask for help.
Mhm.
And so the health and wellness game really has, well, the fact that I don't take medications anymore. Now I do travel with supplements that are important to me, and I haven't found a solution yet for things that I'm used to purchasing in the US that I may need to replenish here.
Mhm.
So I haven't run into that issue yet. So
Well,
we'll see
yeah,
how that ends up.
once
I'm
I
sure
did
there's
read,
something comparable.
yeah, I'm sorry to interrupt.
It's
Once
okay.
my kids mailed to me the refills for
Mm,
prescription, and they did get through. I was concerned that customs sometimes might not want
right.
medicine to go through. It took 3 weeks, but it got there. That was when I was in Ireland last summer.
Yeah. Well, that's a great option too. And knowing that that's an option, I'm sure was a big relief for
Yeah.
you as well.